so I'm Rosemary Stubbs, and I guess my involvement with the creative arts is that I am currently studying for a PhD at Teesside University. It is in, technically it's in cultural history, and I'm going into my fourth year of study at the moment. So that research looks at how feminist arts practice of 1970s Britain can help us to understand women in work at the same decade. So it's kind of looking at like the role of artists and artists as researchers. So I guess that's how I'm very loosely connected to the creative arts.
Well, I don't think that's particularly loose. I think it's really, really interesting. So how do you conduct your research? Is it personal stories? Is it online? Is it a mix?
Yeah, so it's a bit of everything really. So there's a lot of like secondary research, like looking at what other historians have had to say, and like it's quite interdisciplinary. So looking at what art historians said, sociologists, stuff like that. But then part of doing PhD study is that you have to make a unique contribution to knowledge. Yeah, that's the phraseology. So as part of that, I've got to bring something to the table that nobody else has done before. So that includes archival research. So I've done quite a bit of research in archives, all of which have been in London actually. So finding minutes from meetings are usually like big kind of examples of that. So there's been from like Tate Archive, they've got the archive of an organisation called the Artists Union, who were kicking around in the 70s, and it was there for artists to unionise, but they also looked like closer at, they kind of kicked off a wave of artists looking at like social issues and how they could explore that. And then like meetings of like funding authorities and funding, so lots of Arts Council records actually at the V&A archive, feminist magazines at the time. So the British Library have really cool resources. They've got magazines called Red Rag and Shrew, which were Marxist feminist journals at the time. So they were really involved at the women's liberation movement. And then, yeah, also South London Art Gallery have a really cool resource, which I don't think anyone else has looked at, which was great. They've got like letters that have been written by gallery visitors saying how they found exhibitions, which I find like really exciting that like a small gallery still has this resource from like 50 years ago, well, 45 years ago. So yeah, a bit of everything. And then I also interviewed an artist as part of my research as well, which is really useful. So yeah, a bit of everything really.
And these records, you access them remotely, like you've been.
No, sorry. They were all done in person. There's loads of really great resources online as well. So like for example, the feminist journal Spare Rib from 70s to the 90s, that's online through the British Library, so that's really cool. You can do that online. And there's like a few odd bits and bobs, lots of like reports and legislation sort of stuff. That's usually like really good to find online, and like online journals. But a lot of this is kind of like less in demand, so it hasn't been digitized because obviously it's a massive financial and physical task to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it has been quite hard for you during lockdown to.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky that I'm in like the writing up stages of my research. So
I'm great.
Yeah, so a lot of what is kind of like the foundation of what I'm doing is already kind of there. But there have been instances like where I wanted to go and look at the British Library Sound Archive because I found that they had like a testimony from a woman from the women's liberation movement called Rosalind Del Mar. And interestingly, she's actually from South Bank, which I didn't know until so the British Library kind of have this almost like, it's totally crazy like how much like work it's got into this. They've got like kind of like snippets of the conversation saying what's kind of mentioned at each moment, like not a full transcription, so I couldn't like quote from it, so that's why I wanted to go and listen to it. But in there I found out that she's from South Bank, so a fellow Teessider, which was great to see.
Brilliant. Just as a side issue, I've got this amazing archive from Brompton Carnival I was involved with, and it was only back in the 80s, like their women started getting involved, and so all the men, they had a meeting to decide whether or not the women were allowed to be involved in the organising committee. And what it's all in the minutes, what they decided was women would be allowed to contribute to the work, but they wouldn't be actually allowed to join the committee. It's like,
that is, you know, that is so wild, because like in the 80s it was like obviously like Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp started in the 80s, and that started as like a women and men like organized, not an organization but like a movement, and the women at the time, just it's like 84, they decided that it would be women only, because when the press would come in to speak about what was happening there, they'd go straight to the men to find out what it was instead of the women. So they were like, right, off you go then, we'll do it on our own, and then they'll have to speak to us.
yes, yeah. I think we have come quite a long way in the last decade or so. What I've found really, really interesting is that I haven't made a very conscious effort in these interviews to, I've had an awareness of the demographics, but haven't been absolutely insistent. My interviewers, like, they've just given me a list. I haven't said you've got to have this, you know, quotient. But I am delighted to see that we've got really, really great representation. We've got brilliant split of genders. We've got, we've got a reasonable representation of the BAME community. We've got reasonable representation of the artists with disabilities in the local area. And it just seems to me like, you know, I haven't had to make any big effort to achieve this. So it's not like it's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something like this is really great because it kind of highlights that, because there's so many people being involved in it, then I feel like it's a great opportunity to just show that diversity, because I don't think people kind of expect it from Middlesbrough. I think there's still quite, or Teesside more generally actually, I think there's still kind of quite a outdated post-industrial kind of view of our region as being quite white male.
Yeah, well, I would say that that's changed for me in the last 7 years.
Oh yeah, sorry, I meant from like an outsider perspective.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, you know, it's one of the most important things I think that everyone seems to be doing right now is to counteract this narrative that's imposed upon Teesside from outside, and to get people telling their own stories and showing how they feel about their region and what they're doing in their lives, rather than being told this is how you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that sometimes it can kind of get overshadowed by like bigger things that are going on, like and like in the art itself, I think that there are a lot of really great big organizations kicking around, but then there's so many smaller kind of grassroots kind of self-mobilized activities, and I think they're like so exciting because it's people kind of creating something for themselves, or like seeing a gap or a need. And I think that's really important when you're looking at the way that people organize and the way that people practice, is that, you know, it's self-led, and it kind of comes from a need almost, because it's you know, grassroots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just earlier today interviewed Tilly, and yesterday interviewed Chris from Teesside Dub Club, which I didn't know it existed at all. And it was exactly that. They kept going to Leeds to like the dub events there, sub dub, and thought, well, sod it, we'll set up our own dub club in Teesside, and they're putting a system together. And you just think, I just absolutely love that kind of attitude of, if it's not here, then make it so.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's a really good opportunity as well to kind of find out what's going on. I feel like almost like a bit of a directory would be really exciting and a great way to operate.
So what outcome are you hoping for from your PhD?
Yeah. So basically when I started my PhD, I couldn't have done it without the funding that I got, because it just wasn't feasible. So I got funding from the Arts and Humanities Research Council's Heritage Consortium, which is like a 5-year long program with like partner organisations in the north. And looking to train like the next generation of heritage professionals. So like alongside doing the PhD research, I also did a postgraduate certificate in heritage research. So the part of that, it meant that I could like do a placement for 6 weeks that was funded. So I decided to go to Glasgow last summer, and I worked at Glasgow Women's Library for 6 weeks, and that was really brilliant because learning how they operate was just like so refreshing, and they operate under like feminist leadership principles, and it seems to be like a really well kind of loved organization with a real kind of diverse, like truly diverse as well, like people from incredibly different backgrounds using that space for incredibly different purposes. So you know, there are people doing like academic research all the way to people who are going there to learn how to read, like in like adults learning to read, learning like numeracy skills, stuff like that. So it really feels like there's like this great example of how to operate in a way that's truly kind of, you know, useful and loved by like a full community. I think it's really brilliant. Obviously there's still loads of people that haven't heard about what they're doing, and like, you know, there's ways in which they're trying to like do that, but it feels really honest and really like kind of well intentioned, and I really enjoyed that. So to get back to what I hope to achieve from it all, so I'm not looking to kind of go into academia because I don't feel like that's how I want. I'd rather do something that's a little bit broader, a little bit kind of like, I don't know, something that I can kind of swap and change and see. Yeah. So what I'm saying is it's a bit more vocational. So the idea is that I then go into like a wider kind of arts heritage background than academia. So as you said about the effects of lockdown, I think I find it really worrying and like really anxiety inducing that, you know, the arts and heritage sector is like dying. And that like there are so many issues with like hierarchies and like, you know, the loss of like frontline workers. And it is obviously like in the wider scheme of things, it's one in a number of like plights that have been brought on by coronavirus. But I think it's exposed like quite a lot of issues that underlie within that sector. And like the disparities between like senior management and higher paid workers and like people who do like front of house work and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's like it's like a real moment, and not necessarily a good one, but I think it'll be really interesting to see how, you know, organizations react to that, like funding bodies and stuff like that. And then also like added to that is this whole idea of like narratives and how we interpret things, and you know, how we can do the best by our communities. If you look at like the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been like massive conversations down the way in which museums and heritage institutions present, you know, objects and stop like tell stories. And you know, I think there's this massive call now for like better interpretation and better community involvement, and I find that to be like almost like a shining light in like a bad situation where, you know, people are losing jobs and stuff. It's genuinely terrible, but you know, hopefully this will create like a new way in which arts organizations, heritage organizations, cultural organizations operate and look at the way in which they work for their communities, or in the way that they, you know, interpret what they're doing.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I've been really encouraged to see this kind of shift in the emphasis in Arts Council funding from, you know, kind of high art sort of personal projects to community creative arts, like the whole Let's Create manifesto is really, I think, a very important shift in that direction.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think it's brilliant, but I think that we need to be really vigilant of it at the same time. That it actually is going to work in the way that it's intended to, and not kind of like a paper pusher exercise. And like, you know, artists are going out and like asking for this kind of community involved funding without actually impacting on these communities. I think there needs to be like a sense of agency for these communities to be able to say what they want, and not just be told what they want by essentially middle class artists who haven't got that kind of experience of their.
Yeah, I find this very interesting, whether they've whether that's been understood fully, because I did a level 3 community organising course last year.
Great.
And all of the emphasis in that is that to put your own ideas aside, because once you get out into the community, they might have very different ideas about what they want, what they need, the way they want to do it. And if you go out and you know, you can put together the most wonderful project ever, but unless you go and do the listening and the door knocking and actual, you know, one-to-one discussions with people, then your project's going to fail. It's not going to bring lasting change. It'll just be like you go in there doing something, feeling really pleased with yourself, and then going away again. And I think hopefully they'll think about that and maybe introduce some element of community organising into that. I know the girls over in Hartlepool and Blooming Art, they've got some funding, and they had a brilliant policy of they would only give like their sub grants to artists who were willing to do a day's community organising training, and a lot of them didn't want to do it, and they made them, and that they're really, really glad, and they've come out of it really positive, and you know, realised how much there is to think about when you're getting out into communities and trying to work there.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if that's the remit. I think it's so important that that's what is resulting from it.
In fact, I'm gonna go and message the Arts Council now and ask whether that's going to be part of their Brilliant. It's been lovely talking to you, Rosemary.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
I think you were about one of the last people I saw before lockdown.
Yeah, you know, that event, that International Women's Day event, seemed to be like the last kind of, yeah, it's odd. It kind of all happened so quickly.
Yep, I know. I can't believe that was, you know, only like 8 months or something ago. Seems another world, doesn't it? Well, let's get back out there soon, and look forward to seeing you.
And you, good luck with the project.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Exciting. Bye.